it in perspective, this gentleman who enlisted in World War I from Rutherford and served in France, he lived here when he was during the war, and then he lived in Connecticut, and two of his colleagues lived in Summit, New Jersey. So, to put it in perspective, Stamford, Connecticut has honored him. He's been honored in Summit, New Jersey, but Rutherford, while they had mentioned his name among a list of veterans from World War I, they'd never actually given him honor, given him his due. So with that said, I want to bring up, we actually have a family member, a great-grandson, who is here today. I want to welcome Ryan Zagzinski and his lovely wife, Suzanne.
So I'm 2 generations removed from my great-grandfather, so I never had the pleasure of meeting him. I knew him through stories. I knew that he was a florist in southern Connecticut and something of a local hero. I always thought it was a bit funny that a florist would get invitations from the White House from time to time to attend events, but I knew not much more about him than that. I had an idea that there was something remarkable about what he had done, but it wasn't until Rod reached out to me and informed me that an entire city wanted to honor him that I truly understood what it was that he had done and what contribution he had made. I'm here on behalf of my entire family, the generations of my family, just to offer our deepest thanks for this and to extend our gratitude for this honor and recognition. Thank you.
So what we're doing today is we're dedicating this plaque. And when you get a chance, please come up. It's a wonderful plaque. The credit goes to the Rutherford governing body. Ray Guzman presented it to the Rutherford governing body. Without hesitation, they approved the expenditure to purchase this plaque. It's been a little work, as Ryan said. I've reached out to the family and I've been researching this gentleman. So I want to just put this in perspective. We've heard a lot about war today. This was the war to end all wars, World War I, supposedly. But this gentleman, Latham, and his 2 comrades, Sergeant Eggers and Corporal O'Shea, were at the Battle of St. Quentin Canal, which was the first assault in the heavily fortified Hindenburg Line. As you reach back in your histories, you probably remember reading something about the Hindenburg Line. That was the German offensive, and the Americans and their allies were making an effort to break through that line. Latham and his 2 colleagues were at the front of that. They served very much involved in what was happening with that. So the important date that we're focused on is September 29th, 1918. Now, if you know anything about Grace Episcopal Church, you know that 8 of their members served in World War I. 2 of them, Everett and Snyder, were killed on September 29th, 1918. So this is an important date for Rutherford. It's an important date for the United States. I'd like to just read this part of it because this is why Latham was given the Congressional Medal of Honor. John Cridlin Latham, Sergeant, Machine Gun Company, 107th Infantry, 27th Division, for conspicuous gallantry, intrepidity, and above and beyond the call of duty in action with the enemy near Lake Carrette, France, September 29th, 1918. Becoming separated from their platoon by a smoke barrage, Sergeant Latham, Sergeant Eggers, and Corporal O'Shea took cover in a shell hole well within the enemy lines. Upon hearing a call for help from an American tank, which had become disabled 30 yards from them, the three soldiers left their shelter and started toward the tank under heavy fire from the German machine guns and trench mortars. In crossing the fire-swept area, Corporal O'Shea was mortally wounded. But his companions, by the way, O'Shea was 23 years old. He died that day. His companions, undeterred, proceeded to the tank, rescued a wounded officer, assisted two wounded soldiers to cover in a clearing in a nearby trench. Sergeant Latham and Sergeant Eggers then returned to the tank in the face of violent fire, dismounted a Hotchkiss gun, and took it back to where the wounded men were being protected, keeping off the enemy all day by effective use of the Hotchkiss gun, and later bringing the gun with the wounded men back to their own lines under the cover of darkness. And it states here, and this is about the Congressional Medal of Honor, that Sergeant Latham's residence at the time was 171 Montrose Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey. Now, that brings us up to the present. As you all know, we have a Historic Preservation Committee. That address, 171 Montrose, is an important address from the standpoint that it is on our historic site inventory. Latham was living there when he enlisted. Also, some of you may know that in 1917, when he was over in France, Douglas Fairbanks in Artcraft Studios came to Rutherford and made a film using that house as a staging place, 171 Montrose. In fact, if you put the film on and have a still, you can see Douglas Fairbanks climbing into a second-story window. It was of course a spoof. The film In Again, Out Again was a take on a spoof on anti-war people. So Latham and his colleague Eggers, O'Shea of course was dead, had died of his wounds. And Latham and Eggers received the Congressional Medal of Honor from General Pershing in France on January 22, 1919, at a divisional review. On February 18, 1919, the English allies gave Latham and Eggers another honor and brought him to Belgium for presentation of yet another medal, honoring the two of them for saving the lives of this American tank crew. And one more point I want to make is that Thomas O'Shea received the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously. One of his colleagues wrote a letter to his mother, letting her know that he was killed in this action. And Summit, New Jersey, the Historical Society, are the people that I reached out to when I was trying to research this. And the last thing I want to mention is there are monuments in Summit, there are monuments in Stamford that are dedicated to these gentlemen. And the one thing that I think is really quite compelling is I read to you what happened, the action that they took. They used the gun to hold off the enemy all day that night. They brought the gun and the wounded men back to American lines under cover of darkness. It was the only time during the Great War that 3 men received America's highest award for valor for the same act of bravery. So this is a very special, I think, tribute to John Latham and his colleagues. And I'm very, very pleased that we could have family come here and kind of make this, connection with the past. It's 100 years ago, but nevertheless, we'll never forget. We'll never forget the dedication of these veterans. So thank you very much for coming, and please come up and take a look at the plaque. We're very pleased with the Public Works Department. They've spruced up this area, and I believe they have other plans, but they've done a wonderful job installing this plaque. Thank you very much.